welcome. Take It Up with Jessica Lee. I'm here with Sasha Emmerling, who's head of marketing at VeloCloud, now part of VMware. Welcome, Sasha.
Thank you, Jessica. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. You have a ton of marketing experience. You've been at VeloCloud for 5 years and have done a great job in the brand awareness. I wanted to get your thoughts on, what those who are out there doing this journey of creating brand awareness, what should they do? Since you've done it, some of the best practices you'd like to share.
Sure thing. Well, thank you for your kind words, and it's been quite a journey. So I did join 5 years ago when VeloCloud was just being born, employee number 33. I like to call myself VeloCloud Dinosaur. And, we are in the business of SDWAN, but when I joined, there was no SDWAN. So we actually had a sit down around the table, and we were like, well, what should this market be called? Is it hybrid WAN? Is it SD-WAN? We settled with SD-WAN, and, the rest is history. But it's difficult to introduce a category because no one knows. It's hard to talk about your product when no one knows that they actually need a category, right? So I had come to Jesus with a couple of our product marketing folks and said, look, how about this? For the first year, we don't talk about ourselves when we market. We talk about SD-WAN, and it will create this flywheel effect. So when people hear SD-WAN, they will know that they come to VeloCloud for answers. What is SD-WAN? What do you do with it? How do you cook this, right? So it's it was risky because most startups talk about themselves. Most companies talk about themselves when they promote a product. So now here's when you don't talk, what do you do? So what we've done is we've created an FAQ. We talked about the category, and it worked. So analysts started recognizing the trend, and other companies as well. So it helps when others are also promoting the same thing, because then it's not just you in the category. So, but that was something that we did from the the bottom up.
So SD-WAN is now well understood, and it's something that almost every company is looking into. Well, how can I benefit from the SD-WAN technology, right? The innovations out there. Could you share with us some of the innovation taking place that's VeloCloud driving the changes?
Absolutely. So it's almost like back in the day we had web and web 2.0, so now we have SD-WAN and almost like SD-WAN 2.0. So SD-WAN is well known for improving application performance, being much simpler than traditional networks, and providing a great on-ramp to cloud. So now it's been mostly from the branch to the data center, whether the data center is located in the traditional data center or in the cloud. But what we're seeing now is the trend to go deeper into the branch. So beyond just the edge of the branch and into the actual client. So if you have a cell phone, why shouldn't your work application on your cell phone not enjoy the same benefits as your corporate network when you are connecting to a cloud service, for example? What about all those IoT sensors that are out there? Why shouldn't they be able to enjoy the same performance as your corporate network in a traditional branch? So that's on the branch side. On the other side, on the data center, so what we're seeing is applications are becoming containerized, and the application architecture is changing so much that you used to have an application in your data center, very immobile, monolithic. Now that same application could be spread across multiple data centers, whether traditional one or in the cloud. So what we're seeing is SD-WAN going all the way to that container. And again, application performance, all the benefits that SD-WAN provides now for customers is going to be extended further to the client and to the container. And we actually call it client to cloud, just in the middle, to container.
I see. Yeah, because of the distributed computing.
Correct. Yes.
So I see what you're saying. I know you're working a lot with service providers, right? They're providing the managed services. And so the go-to-market for you has shifted to more and more so you're doing partner marketing. If you could share with us some of the best practice, what does it take to be successful in that kind of go-to-market where you're working with all the service providers?
So we are fortunate that we're able to establish a very close relationship with our partners. So our telecom service provider partners, they see SD-WAN as a huge value proposition for themselves and their customers.
Mm-hmm.
For themselves, they're able to extend the life of their MPLS investment. They're now able to go worldwide versus just being a incumbent in one space and then having a lot of challenges in other locations. But with SD-WAN, they can go anywhere in the world. Now, it is not easy for a traditional service provider to shift gears and begin selling SD-WAN and marketing SD-WAN. So what we do is we have a very integrated approach to this. We call it the Ready, Set, Go program. And it covers multiple areas such as legal, financial, sales, enablement, and marketing. So what we do is we go in and we help the service provider craft that message that aligns not only to the actual SD-WAN messaging, but to their own product messaging, so that it is not, it does not stand out like a sore thumb. Mm-hmm. It's very integrated into their portfolio. So we go in, we do everything from strategic approach to very tactical things, like how do you create assets that are going to be beneficial for your customers. What should your customers know? So we work with the service provider on all of that.
Okay. All right. So very tightly aligned with the partner's marketing department.
Correct.
And providing that information so that they can go and do the sales enablement, actually have their sellers be successful in offering this overall managed service portfolio.
Yes.
Okay, great. I think that you've been there and you've grown the team also. You've got 40 people. I want to touch on women in tech at this point, just because I think it's really important to share your career journey and ask for your thoughts on what are some of the changes you've seen and what is VMware specifically doing to promote more women in tech.
Of course. Yes, I've been in Silicon Valley for 20 years now, and I've been fortunate that always been recognized on my performance and the merit of my work. I know that others have not been so fortunate, and in general, women are underrepresented in tech. So VMware, I'm very proud to work for VMware. This is one perspective where I think tremendous strides have been done. So VMware has a formal diversity and inclusion program. Mm-hmm. Senior leadership's bonuses are tied to promotion, equal opportunity, and equal recognition of anyone, really. Mm-hmm. So VMware is really pushing the envelope and recognizing this power of human diversity, human difference, and bringing it into the workplace. There's still ways to go. You can actually see it on our company's page. It's vmware.com/company/diversity. There are some stats there. Mm-hmm. And you can see that we're comparing, last year to this year. You can see where the trend is going. And I'm happy to report that it's very positive.
So you're saying there are bonuses tied to making sure executives are giving equal opportunities to women.
Correct.
To minorities.
Yes.
Recognizing based on their
Absolutely.
merits. And hopefully that has brought in some changes. I don't know if you've been tracking. The program's been around for a couple of years.
Yes.
What have you seen as the impact of that?
Well, I definitely see more women engineers. And there is, it's called the Power of Difference initiative at VMware. And so pod for short. So there's a women's pod. And so they're very active, going out to universities, trying to recruit more women, going out to the schools, trying to promote STEM programs. And it's showing. I remember my first startup, you walk into R&D and it's all guys, right? Now you walk in and you see some women, and you see women in leadership as well, in technical leadership. It's very, very good to see.
I even hear that companies like AT&T has this vendor selection criteria in which they will ask the suppliers, do you have diversity and inclusion? You know, so I think that is also a huge step forward in pushing for change.
I completely agree. And yes, we've actually ran into this, and it's always a pleasure when that question is asked. We say, yes, absolutely, we have a diversity and inclusion initiative, and we answer all the questions. And I think more vendors and more suppliers should jump on that train.
Okay, let's talk about 2020. Looking ahead, what is exciting ahead for VMware, VeloCloud?
So we, like I mentioned, there's a lot more development going on, expanding the reach of SD-WAN. We've proven that it helps the networking. Now, you know, the wide area network. Now, how can we expand it more and into, you know, end user computing, into containers, you know, all the way to the client, and IoT being such a big trend, and then 5G also. That's a big area where we're collaborating with some of our service provider partners.
Well, what about security? Because I think that that's an area that people are very concerned about. Anytime you have data flowing, and now it's distributed, and it's coming from so many devices at the edge, it seems that security and networking has to be hand in hand. As a vendor, you have to provide that comprehensive integrated service.
We see that shift. Yes, it's no longer a security silo and a networking silo. They're coming together, and a lot of the functions, security functions, are now inherently being forced into the network. In fact, that's what our customers are asking for. They don't want to have multiple security vendors and multiple networking vendors and no interaction between the two. It all has to work seamlessly. So I think it's also recognized, so customers are asking for it, but it's also recognized by the analyst space that this is a trend. So very excited to see more of that.
The convergence.
Yes, the convergence is a good word.
It's been a great conversation. Thanks for being on the show to talk about marketing, about VeloCloud's networking world, and about women in tech. So I'm excited to have you come back next year to talk about the 2020 projects that you're doing.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thanks.
There you have it, folks. Sasha Emmerling from VeloCloud.